Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another edition of Money Mondays, an ongoing web series through the Department of Small and Local Business Development's District Capitalized program. Today, we're talking Kiva. These are crowd-funded loans with no revenue, no collateral, and no interest or no fees to support your local business at the startup concept stage all the way to the expansion and growth stage. Welcome. I'll pause here for a moment if someone's watching on demand and would like to arrange for translation service for this webinar and all of DSLBD and DC government services. We're able to translate the information into your preferred language. So please let us know how we can help. Today, we're going to cover a couple of topics related to Kiva crowdfunding. We're going to kick off looking at some of the common options that you might consider as a concept, startup, or established business for financing your business, and then see how Kiva might be a good capital solution for you. I'll give a quick overview about crowdfunding in general, because that might be a new concept to you, and then specifically what the DC Kiva Hub is at DSLBD, and then how Kiva Hub works, the process, the steps that you go through, the timeline, and what you could expect, including the terms of the loans if you're successful in raising your loan through Kiva. And then I'll talk about a couple of points that might help you decide if Kiva is a good fit for you right now or in general. And then I'll share some tips on what makes a really successful Kiva application and campaign. And I'll end with how you can get help to start your application, and then we'll have Q&A at the end. So let's get started. Throughout the presentation, I'll be referencing specific examples from DC-based Kiva borrowers and other businesses who've gone through Kiva. Here are two of our most recent successful applications from Artemis, who's a startup food business, and from Angel, who has a 4-year-old landscaping business. They both used Kiva to start and grow their business. I'm Camilla Nixon. I'm a project manager with the DC Department of Small and Local Business Development, and also the Capital Access Manager for the DC Kiva Hub. And this is how to connect with me. If you don't know already, DSLBD, the Department of Small Local Business Development, is a DC government agency, and we support the development and growth of DC's local and small businesses and support the corridors within which they're operating and the partners who are supporting them. I'm on a team called the Innovation and Equitable Development Team, Inno.ED. We help businesses at all stages and support the ecosystem of both agencies, partners, and lenders so that both you, the business owner, and the people who are supporting you have what you need to be able to be successful. We have lots of different services that we offer and tools. One of them is the dcbusinesstoolkit.com. If you haven't signed up already, it's free to create an account. That centralizes information from over 150 agency providers, including lenders, who are available to provide information, trainings, other things to support you. That's all centralized in one place at dcbusinesstoolkit.com. We offer lots of trainings like this one. That's our Eventbrite page on how to sign up for future trainings. And if you miss one or can't attend, you can look for them on our YouTube channel. We post them all there. And we always like to meet with you. If you'd like to meet with us in person or virtually or by phone, connect with the Inno.ED team, and this is how you do it at that link. A little bit about the District Capitalized program through which this webinar series is presented and the DC Kiva Hub is housed. District Capitalized coordinates the resources available both through DSLBD and through our partners, be they products like a loan product, a grant product, guidance like these webinars or one-on-one consultations, and then supporting the ecosystem of lenders and people who support your efforts to try to get to funding. That way, they'll be in a good position to help you down the line. So the District Capitalized kind of wraps around all of those products, guidance, and ecosystem support. And the best way to hear about future things like this session and funding opportunities is to sign up for our DC Business Funding Alert, and that's the link to do so. I'm going to do a quick overview of some of the common capital options. Many of them you probably already know. There's bootstrapping and sales. I always say sales first, both because that's the way that you know what you're selling. Your good or service is something that is of interest to your target market. And also you have the most freedom with that money, however you want to use it. Of course, as you're starting out, that might be hard to get those first sales going, but I really recommend pushing to do sales first. And we have lots of resources online on how to help do that. You can always meet with us for consultations to discuss your specific business's efforts to raise funds through revenue. Rebates are the next option. There are quite a few out there through our DC partner called DC Sustainable Energy Utility to help reduce the cost of operating your business and support the environment. And then the next two are probably the ones you think of mostly when you think of financing: loans or lines of credit. Loan is something that you repay, a set amount of money that you repay over time. And a line of credit is something, a set amount of money that you have that you can pull upon over a period of time, replenish it, pull upon it again, and then once that period's over, your line of credit closes. We have lots of partners locally called community lenders or CDFIs. That's a link to the list of them. Unlike banks, they have a lot of terms that might be more suitable to a local business. They receive supports from us and the DC and the federal government to help local businesses specifically. So definitely check them out. And there's a great resource guide available from our partner, CHED, that gives a really good overview of the resources out there to get yourself ready to access financing. So check out that publication that came out last year. And finally, grants. Everyone's favorite are grants, because this is money that you receive, and if you use it for the allowed purpose, you do not have to repay it back, unlike a loan or line of credit. However, they are fairly competitive. They're not always a guarantee, and they often have criteria that you have to meet, so you may or may not meet the criteria of a particular grant. They're a great source of money to have if it fits in line with something you're about to get anyhow, but it won't be something that I would rely upon to be available to move your business forward, since they are generally competitive grants, competitive financing options. For both of these, loans, lines of credit, and grants, often businesses may feel locked out of them for various reasons. If you individually, the owner, or if you're a DC resident exploring entrepreneurship, if you have poor credit or concerned about getting your credit record pinged when a lender looks at your record to see if you're eligible for their loan, that is a concern people often have. But Kiva actually will take any credit score, and they do not check your credit record to ping it. Most lenders will require you to have collateral of some sort, maybe a percentage of your home, a car, or some other asset that they can pull upon if you default on your loan. Kiva does not require any collateral. It's also, Kiva's open to your application if you had some prior bankruptcy. As long as you've closed out the bankruptcy, they're okay with that. But that's often a no-no for many lenders. They don't want to support you if you have bankruptcy, but Kiva is completely fine with that. Another challenge that many people have individually is when they go to apply for a loan, or sometimes even for a grant. If they have prior justice exposure, they were formerly incarcerated, they often are shut down right at the beginning. But Kiva is open to people who have gone through the justice system and are now either no longer in the justice system or has a certain period of time lapsed since they were. And I'll give some more details about that if that applies to you. And then finally, Kiva is open to all ages, races, gender, undocumented status. All are welcome at Kiva. And when you're looking at your business, and you will be applying for Kiva to support a business, so the loan is for your business idea, and when you're repaying it, it's tracked to your business. And at one point in the future, you'll be able to get opt in to have it count towards your business credit. But often when you're looking for a loan from a bank or a line of credit, even for a grant, if you're at that early stage or at the testing and idea stage, or you're just starting to get incorporated and licensed but you haven't yet, you are often not considered for loans and grants. But Kiva is open if you're at that early stage, and you can use the Kiva funds to actually pay for your licensing and incorporation so you can get legitimately licensed to operate in the district. I mentioned before that there's Kiva doesn't check your credit for your individual credit nor for your business credit. You can have any score, it's all right. You do not have to have sales in Kiva. We'll talk about the range of loans from 1,000 to 15,000. If you're going for a higher amount of loans, you will need to show some proof of revenue. But if you're going for a lower amount under $6,000, you do not need to show that you have any revenue, which is great if you're at that stage where you're trying to make revenue. You just need a little bit of money to get to that revenue generating activity. There is no minimum minimum amount of loan is $1,000 up to $15,000. Often lenders sometimes will not look at you if you have a request lower than a certain amount of money, lower than $10,000. Kiva is open to loans that are as low as $1,000. And most expenses are covered by Kiva. There are a couple that aren't, and I'll mention those, but often banks aren't really interested in supporting rent or licensing, Kiva is. They're open to helping you pay for your rent and licensing, anything that will help you generate revenue in the near term. And some industries often are not favorites of lenders, namely food-based businesses, including agricultural businesses, because of the high turnover rate of businesses who start in that industry. But Kiva is not only open to food and agricultural businesses, but many of their borrowers are in the food industry. So that's a positive if you are a food business. And unfortunately, when it comes to loans and lines of credit, sometimes the fees are really, really high. The fee to apply, the fee to close, the fee to repay, your interest if you close early, repay early if you pay another fee. Kiva is a no interest, no fee application and no fee to get the money. It's a zero cost loan, which is very unusual, both for the traditional lenders and for even some of the local community lenders. So here are some ways I think Kiva might be a good solution for some of your capital challenges. And again, if you just joined us, welcome. Feel free to drop your questions in the chat. We're checking to see if any came up on the ones I just asked. Okay. So Kiva's, just to clarify, Kiva is a loan. It's a fixed amount, we call it term loan, that whatever you're approved for and are able to raise, that will be, and you do raise the full amount, that will be your loan amount. And when you finish paying it off, you could go for a second loan, but it is not a line of credit, something that you can pull from, reimburse, and pull from again. So a little bit about crowdfunding in general. As it sounds, it works with a crowd of people. So when you go for a bank or a grant, you're going to a lender, a funder. In crowdfunding, you go to a crowd. You start off with your business idea, your business concept. You definitely need to itemize what you're going to do with the ask, what you're about to ask the crowd to help support. What are you going to do with that money? And then you create a pitch. Usually the pitch is an online page, but sometimes you can do videos and have other ways to pitch your program in person, your idea in person. But you generally pitch online, and often you have to ask your network. So you need to figure out who your close and extended network is, friends, families, associates, and be willing to promote your campaign. It's not something that just happens on its own. The more effort you put to promote it and get it out to the people that you know is the more likely that they in turn will share with others and start building that crowd. When it hits the crowdfunding stage, individual people contribute to your campaign. They might contribute as a donation or maybe a loan. We'll talk about what that means in a moment. But all those individual contributions are combined together, and that becomes the amount of money that's then transferred to you when you meet your goal. And the money is transferred to you. And if it's a loan product, you'll repay it. If it's not, if it's a donation-based another platform, you'll be able to keep it. So that's the general idea of how crowdfunding works, from the idea to the pitch to the crowdsourcing for individuals and then the award of the money. There are quite a few different types of crowdfunding platforms. This document here, this Doing Business Toolkit from the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership that DSLBD and the D.C. Women's Business Bureau helped produce last year, is a great resource. So check that out if you want to get an idea of the different types. Very briefly, there's a donation-based crowdfunding where you get a donation to your campaign. GoFundMe is an example of that. Rewards-based, where you get money in exchange for something. Maybe at the $100 level, you'll give them early access to a product you're about to launch. At the $200 level, maybe you'll actually give them the product or the service. The loan-based application platform, which we'll talk about today, Kiva is an example of. There's also a membership where over a period of months, you give things access to early information or early content maybe, or one-on-one time to meet with you, but little rewards for ongoing monthly subscriptions or payments to you. And then equity-based crowdfunding is when you're actually sharing a percentage of your revenue or a percentage of your ownership of your business in exchange for investment. Fundable and WeFund are examples of those. So again, check out the platform, this program publication here if you'd like more information about the various crowdfunding options. But we're going to focus on the loan-based one, which Kiva is an example of. We're looking across all the different loan-based platforms for crowdfunding. They vary quite drastically, and here are some of the ways that you're comparing the different types out there to Kiva and how Kiva stacks up. Again, Kiva is open to almost all types of businesses at all stages, low or no entry to barrier. The period of the campaign is on the lower side. It's about 45 days. It could be less. Some people have done it in 7 days. Other campaign platforms go up to 120 days. Kiva is an all or nothing campaign format, which means if your goal is $1,000, you must raise the full 1,000 to get to the 1,000. If you should fall short by $900, you won't get the money. That 900 will be returned back to the various individuals who contributed, but you can reapply again. And we'll talk about that in a while too. Again, Kiva is probably the only one out there that has no fees, no interest rate. It has one of the highest success rates, 95%, which means that 95% of the borrowers who go through Kiva get their loan. And so far for the DC Kiva Hub borrowers, we're at 100%. Everyone who's gone through their public campaign have raised the funds for their campaign to get their loan, which is great news. Here's an idea to show you what it looks like if you were to have a Kiva campaign. You create a profile, and a snippet of it is posted on the platform, which everyone around the world can see. And your profile pitch, as well as that of thousands of others, are posted at the same time. Here's an example of a page which shows two of our DC borrowers, Carmen and Michaela. It has a picture, their name, a quick tagline, where they're at as far as how much they're raising, and a click through for an interested contributor to click through and lend. And you can also see here that in this case, both Carmen and Michaela are having a 2-to-1 match right now by a managed lender called IT Cosmetics. I'll explain more about that. That's an example of a managed lender matching, which doesn't always happen, but it's nice when it does. And here's an example of Travis, who's out of Wisconsin, what it looks like when you're about to close your campaign, you're about to expire. In this case, Travis only has 2 days left to raise that amount of money. Once someone who's interested clicks on your photo or lend, they're able to see your profile, your pitch page, which has a little bit about you. And Kiva is very focused on who both you are individually as well as your business. Lenders like to know the backstory about who you are, and then a little bit about your business. And then if you were to get the loan money, what you would do with that loan. So when you're completing your application, the questions you answer all funnel up to this, which is great news, because once you submit the application, if it's approved, your pitch is done. There's nothing else you need to do. It's all taken care of in that first part of your application. So Kiva operates worldwide. It's a nonprofit organization. They've been operating for over 15, 16 years now. Actually 17 years, sorry. They've been operating worldwide. They've increased their US presence in the last couple of years. And one way they do that is through the hub programs. They have cities or counties that sign on to be a hub where we're able to give more intensive assistance to our borrowers in that particular jurisdiction. As you see, they have a wide amount of money that has gone out, $1.6 billion worldwide, 45 million in the United States. And there's 40 million borrowers, and often they actually lend to one business and they'll repeat it again. So a lot of those are repeat borrowers who come back time and time again to support small local businesses like yours. A lot of the borrowers are women and people of color, and the average loan size is about $7,500. And as I mentioned, there are hubs around the United States, and we, DSLBD, are the hub host for the DC Hub. We provide extra benefits to borrowers when they apply. We help you with your application process through general training like this, one-on-one consultations. If you need help creating your photo or tweaking your pitch text, we're happy to do that as well. We also are able to do things to help you go through the review process faster. If you're just out on the open market, it might take a longer period of time, but when you come to the hub, it's generally accelerated because we help make sure that any corrections or things you have wrong with your application are fixed before Kiva has their final review. There's also ways to get endorsements from our agency and other partners so that you do actually not only get a faster review, but you might even have access to higher amounts of money because this endorsement says that we know you as a business, we know that you've taken steps to improve your business, and therefore Kiva might be more interested to support your business at a higher amount. And most of all, once you've gone through your campaign, we help you with that process too. At the other end, when you're repaying, if you're having challenges repaying, we can help mitigate that and brainstorm ways to help you increase your revenue so that you can not only repay Kiva, but you can also be a stronger business at the end of your loan process. So when you apply, as long as your business address is a base in the district, you'll be part of the DC Kiva Hub. Here are some of the loan terms. This is a Shane who went through our program around this time last year. He used his loan fund of $8,500 from 317 individual lenders supported his campaign, and he used that money to support the relaunch of a second phase of his app, which is up right now. The loan amounts I mentioned earlier range from $1,000 to $15,000, and the average loan for DC is around $7,500 right now. The higher amount of loans are for those businesses who've been operating a little bit longer. They probably have proof of revenue. Along the lower amount would be a good amount to go for when you're at the startup stage or you're looking to have a specific one-time purchase for something that will help you generate revenue. Again, these are no-cost loans, and your payment period again changes based on the amount of money that you're borrowing. So if you have a $1,000 loan, it's closer to 12 months to repay it, and if you have a $15,000 loan, it's closer to 36 months to repay it. And your first payment is due 30 days after you close your campaign. If you are an agricultural business, you have that chance to opt into a longer lead time before your first payment. Kiva recognizes that you may need the money now to start getting your seeds and growing your crop, but you'll actually make money from that investment until later on in the season when you're selling at the market. So Kiva will give agricultural business up to 6 months to delay their first payment. Again, it's open to all stages. This is one of our early Kiva borrowers who started the Village Cafe using the Kiva Fund. You can use this money at the stage when you're a DC resident exploring an idea and you haven't gotten licensed yet, or if you're already incorporated and licensed and operating in the district, you can apply as well. A recap on the benefits of Kiva regarding no credit score, past bankruptcies allowed, there's no collateral or revenue requirement. If you're again going for a larger loan amount, they will ask for proof of revenue, but for anything below 6,000, they do not. You can have exposure in the justice system. They will not take applications if you have a offense as a sex offender or a terrorist, but if you have a violent or financial crime, you can apply. You just have to wait 5 years, but you'll be able to apply after that. Most types of businesses can apply. Some that are excluded are those that sell weapons, multi-level marketing, CBD or hemp, adult entertainment, real estate, hookah, tobacco products. If you're in transportation, it's okay, but if you're specifically doing Lyft or Uber or shared car service type of business, you cannot. But if you're just doing transportation, that is fine. If you're not sure if your business is allowed, just drop me an email. I'm happy to tell you. Most are, except for these, and if there's one that I'm not sure, I'll check with Kiva for you. And this is a picture of Rylinda, who you saw featured on the ad for today's session. She is actually from our Aspire program. She won our pitch competition, our We Aspire pitch competition last year. And with that money and a loan from Kiva, she had the foresight to use Kiva to stock up on her inventory and supplies that she would need in the fall. So she would be ready to make her product and sell for the holiday sales in December. The foresight was that she saw the supply chain collapsing. So she took out a loan knowing that she could use that for revenue generation activity, the holiday sales of her products very soon, and be able to start repaying that loan based on the sale of that inventory she bought with Kiva. Most expenses are allowed, probably more than most lenders. Again, Kiva will help fund for rent, payroll, licensing fees. If you haven't heard and you're not licensed, you're able to get licensed and incorporated in the district now for $200 just for a basic business license. So take advantage of that. You should really use the Kiva money to fund any expense that will lead to revenue. And I'll talk a bit more about what's a successful application. You just don't want to have a pool of money sitting there. You probably want to think through strategically, if you got this loan, what could you buy that would then lead to revenue generation in the near term, the next 2 to 6 months? That would be a great use of Kiva. Expenses that aren't allowed are related a lot to those disallowed businesses, including hemp, tobacco, weapons, but also you cannot use Kiva for debt or for taxes. Again, if you're thinking of using Kiva for expense, but you're not sure that we'll allow it, just drop me an email, I'll let you know. In Kiva, you can apply as an individual business or a resident looking to start a business, but you can also apply on behalf of a cooperative. So if you're a business and a cooperative of other businesses, you individually, as a business with a license, can apply, and that cooperative that is operating on behalf of the businesses, that entity can also apply as well. So if you're trying to build up money for your cooperative, you can look at a strategy where individual members like yourself apply, and then the cooperative organization as well applies for a loan. The loan approval process can take up to 60. I mean, the loan approval and the whole process to get your money can take up to 60 days. It can also can happen fairly quickly. So just a reminder that this is a loan, it's not a grant or a donation. So when you're running your campaign, you're asking for people to lend to you. And then if you raise the amount of money of your loan ask, you'll get that. And then as you repay Kiva, those individual people contribute to your campaign, they will get repaid as well. Um, and the loan offer to Kiva, you may ask for a certain amount. Often people ask for the 15,000, which is okay. You're welcome to ask for that. But they often ask for 15, but they're often adjusted down when they get their offer based on what they're able to reply. Kiva does a really great job about making sure that they're giving you a loan that will help with your near-term goal of raising more money with that loan, but not to overextend you and become a burden to you. They want you to be able to comfortably repay that loan and then come back and apply for a second one. Kiva loves second-time borrowers. So as soon as you're able to repay the first one, you can come after a second one. Again, the review process will go over in the next slide, the timeline to complete that. And that you will also, a reminder, you have to raise the entire amount of your loan. I have a picture here of Annette. She's the owner of Earth Creamery and Bakehouse. She used Kiva to start her first vending at a farmer's market. And hers was super fast. Literally, her campaign launched on a Monday. And she had her friends and family lined up. We'll talk about what that means in a moment, but she had them lined up. She closed her friends and family campaign in about a day. She closed the public part of her campaign in about a day. And by the end of the week, Friday, she had her money from Kiva. She bought what she needed on Saturday, and she was vending on the market the next Sunday. So that's a very fast turnaround. You can do it as well if you have all those elements lined up. You don't have to. You can take a much longer process if you'd like. But it is possible to have a fast turnaround if you're really focused on getting it done. So again, it's 60 days or less from the time of your application to the award of money in your bank when, here's the key, when the application is complete. So once you have a complete application and Kiva has no questions, then it's 60 days or less. I'm going to walk you through one by one what those 60 days looks like. So first, the prep and apply, and this doesn't count towards your timeline because for each person is a little bit different. Some people start an application, they submit it after reading the general guidance that we have online. It's complete, everything that we ask for is there, there's no questions, I review it, send it off to Kiva. Other people need more time, they have questions, they need help preparing their photo, writing their text. That is completely fine. We at DC Kiva Hub at DSLBD are here to help you with that. So take the time that you need to create a great pitch. And here's how to connect with us and our trustees who can help you. We'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. But once you do submit your application and it's complete, it will take up to 3 weeks for a review. Sometimes during that time, Kiva or DSLBD may come back and say, hey, we need this information or you're missing that information. And also during that time, Kiva will ask you to complete a third-party identity check. And that's mostly to make sure that if they approve you, they're making sure they're actually giving you the money and not someone else who sounds almost like you also living in DC. They don't want to give them the money. They want you to have the money. So you'll be asked to do a third-party identity check. DSLBD does not see that check, but Kiva gets the rating from that. Once you've been approved, Kiva will offer you a loan amount. It'll be amount and the number of people you have to raise during the private campaign. If you're at that time, if you want to have a conversation with me about the amount and the next steps, definitely I will reach out to you, but feel free to call me first if you'd like. Sometimes the amount that you ask for is lower, what Kiva offers is lower than that. And you might be wondering, how are you going to make use of that lower amount of money? I often have that conversation. We think through how to make use of that offer that Kiva did make. And plus, there's also other ways to supplement that. There might be some upcoming grants or other sources of fund that could supplement the balance that Kiva did not fund. But once you get the offer and you accept it, you move automatically into the private phase, and then you'll go into the public phase. These are both the crowdfunding campaigns. So the private phase, which is friends and family, you'll have 15 days to get friends and family or extended network. It could be people that you went to school with, that you work with, that you're suppliers, but someone in your extended network to contribute to your campaign. Kiva, again, in their offer email will give you a number. If you have a $1,000 loan offer, they may ask you to get 5 people. If you have a $15,000 loan offer, they may ask you to get 30 people. So you'll have 15 days to get that number of people. At this stage, Kiva does not care if each of those people contribute the minimum $25 or lot more than that. They just want to know, can you get to those 5 people or those 30 people in 15 days to contribute to your campaign? And if you do, you're automatically moved to the public campaign, which is up to 30 days. During the wintertime, they extend that a little bit longer because they know people are busy doing holiday stuff and they might not be focused on your campaign, so they extend that time period. But generally, it's 30 days for the public then to contribute to your campaign. And this is when community lenders from around the world, from Texas to Sweden to next door in Maryland, will contribute to your campaign. Additional friends and family can also join in and contribute then too. And also you might find that there's matching funds coming in. You saw an example I gave a few minutes ago of 2 borrowers in DC right now. They have a 2-to-1 match by a company called IT Cosmetics. That means that IT Cosmetics put out a pool of funds and said, if businesses match our criteria, in this case, they're funding any woman-owned businesses who are going through an active campaign, IT Cosmetics is matching them 2-to-1. So you'll have both individual community lenders and also managed funds might kick in as well. I'm going to shift to an example to kind of make this feel a little bit more real for you. In this example, this is a borrower who went through Good Sense Farm, Zachary, who had $10,000 loan to raise. So for his private campaign, he had to raise 10 friends and family for his $10,000 loan offer. So within 15 days, he got 10 friends and family, and they each contributed an amount of money that totaled up to $400. Once he got those friends and family, he moved to step 4, the public crowdfunding period. And that's that 30-day period to raise the balance of the money. So he needs 10,000. He already got 400 with those 10 friends and family. So that he moved to the public campaign where he needs $9,600 to meet his $10,000 goal. And in his case, he actually did kick in, a managed lender did kick in. His campaign met the criteria of a managed lender. I think it was Donna von Furstenberg Foundation. So that matched 1-to-1. So instead of having to raise $9,600 from the general individuals in the world through the Kiva platform, he really only needed to raise $4,800 because that managed lender was matching 1-to-1 to that. So in the end, 213 community lenders and 1 managed lender contributed to his campaign. Within 30 days, he got to that $10,000 goal, which means he got the money and it was distributed to him. So again, it's an all or nothing campaign. For some reason, Zachary had fallen short and he was only at $8,000 at the end of 30 days. He would not have gotten the money. The money would have been returned back to those 213 community lenders and the 1 managed lender. And he could have tried again, and DSLBD Kiva Hub would help him figure out how maybe to tweak his campaign, maybe look at maybe how much he's asking before he goes out and tries again. But there's no harm, no foul if you don't reach your goal. We really pushed to make sure that we can, and we have 100% success rate so far, but it's no harm, no foul if you don't. We'll just help you try again in 30 days. So again, if you meet that award, you get that goal, the money's dispersed to you. This says 1 to 7 days. It usually happens within 1 to 2 or 4 days. It happens fairly quickly and it's done through PayPal. So when you set up your application, you're asked to share your PayPal account, and that's how Kiva will move the money to you. And that's also how you will repay Kiva when the time comes. And the money is given all at once for you to use for the purposes that you stated in your loan application. And then the repayment begins within 30 days. You have your first repayment due. If you're an agricultural business, you can opt to have up to 6 months before you start that first payment. And how long you have to repay it will depend on your loan. When you get your loan offer, if it's $1,000, it'll probably be a 12-month repayment period. If you get the higher amounts, like towards $15,000, it'll probably be a 36-month repayment period. And again, as you repay all those individual community lenders and any managed fund lender who contributed to your campaign, they will proportionally get repaid. So if your aunt gave $25 for a $1,000 loan, probably each month she's getting $2 back. Whereas maybe if someone else gave, a lot more money, maybe $500, they might be getting more like $10 back each month. This is kind of like a big picture of the steps I just walked through, the 60 days or less from the review period all the way through the deposit in your account. I'll pause here to see if we have any questions in the chat. It looks like no. Okay. So I went over the basic terms of Kiva, and here are some questions you might want to ask yourself to see, is this product perhaps right for you now? Or keep it in mind, maybe it's right for you at a later time in your business development. So Kiva is a great product if you're willing to be active in your fundraising. And willingness is not the same as actually knowing what to do. We will help share with you what to do, but your willingness to ask people. I know this is something that often gets people a little uncomfortable, asking friends and family or your extended network. Overwhelmingly, borrowers who've gone through the DC Kiva Hub have almost all said the same thing. We were nervous about doing it, but once we started doing it, we were just surprised how supportive people are. They don't look at it like, oh, you're trying to ask me for money. Once you tell them it's not a donation, this is a loan. So as I repay, you get your money back. That also helps them feel comfortable asking. And then also these are people who sometimes didn't even know that you had a business or that you were trying to expand your business, and they are more than happy to jump on board and be support. Again, the amount of money is fairly low. It's a $25 minimum loan to your campaign, so it's a very easy threshold for people to contribute. And when it comes to asking your friends and family, we have tons of templates for email, making phone calls. We help you with online posts for social media. We'll help you create it or help you promote it. So you're not alone in that area. And coming to social media, it's ideal if you do have a social media handle, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, but it's not required. As long as you have friends and family who might have social media, which most people do, you can tap into them and say, hey, I have this social media post that DSLBD shared with me. Can you in turn post it on your page and get the word out about my campaign? So if you don't have a social media account, that is okay. But if you're willing to ask your friends and extended network to post for you, that would be great. Kiva is also great if you're using the money for revenue generating expenses in the near term. When I say near term, is like if you borrow the money today for an expense, will that expense help directly generate revenue for you over the next 2 to 6 months? So you don't want to take out the money if it's just for working capital, you just kind of want to have a cushion. It's ideal that you have a specific thing in mind to use it for. It could be for a service. You're using the money to get licensed and incorporated so that you can operate legally in the district and start applying for other funding, including grants and loans. You could use it for a service, someone to help you with your marketing or website design, maybe even hire a part-time staff person or contractor to help you go after a bigger market or after future contracts. You need more staff to help you get on top of that. Accounting services to help get your books in order so you can qualify for going for a particular contract or a grant. Those are some examples of the many types of ways you can use your funds for a service that will help generate revenue either through sales or through a contract. You can also use your funds to buy items to help you get to a sale of revenue, inventory that you would sell, supplies to produce that inventory. If you need more equipment, so you can start servicing more customers, maybe more landscaping equipment, or if you have a truck or vehicle that needs to be purchased, so you have more ways for your fleet, your staff to get out to customers, or maybe you're repairing equipment. Those are all examples of items or products that you can use your money. Again, you don't just want to kind of hold money in the background, and you also want to ask for what you need. I'm happy to help you at the application stage think through what you'd like to achieve and then what those costs might be so that you're really keeping tight what you actually need, what you're asking for, pretty much the same. So as you use that to generate revenue, you're able to repay not only Kiva, but start paying back to your business and making some profit for yourself. Some things about Kiva that people think mostly of the money, and it is a product for money for sure, but it has some other benefits that people don't really think about until they're in it and really are excited that they have. It helps you build your credit, and very soon Kiva will let you opt in to have it reported to the credit bureau so that you can start to build your business credit. It's not an option right now, but it will soon be on board and will be just an option. You won't be required to report, but it's a great way to start building your business credit for down the road when you do go after loans or other forms of financing just outside of Kiva. It's the perfect place to start your financial ladder, especially for the startup stage, or you did a lot of your early business expenses bootstrapping and by sales, you're looking for your first loan, it's a great place to do that. And it's also a way to start stacking your capital. I'll give you an example of what I mean. In the case of, we'll use Zachary, let's say his loan was for $13,000. He needed refrigeration and storage for his food business. He could have gone after Kiva for a $10,000 loan, but also matched to that, stacked on that, $1,000 rebate from DCSEU for refrigeration and storage equipment. And he already had $2,000 in sales that he saved up. So now he can buy the refrigeration using the Kiva loan of $10,000, the rebates from DCSEU, and the $2,000 from his own sales. So that's an example of how to stack your funds. So you're welcome to connect with me or the rest of the Inno.ED team at DSLBD to talk about what your bigger financial goal is, and we can think through what you can use to stack that, how Kiva or something else could be a part of that. But it's a great way to both diversify your sources of funds, and also everyone loves to support a winner. Everyone loves to support someone who also has some skin in the game through their sales and has someone else who really wants to invest in them, like maybe DCSEU. So having one funder likes to see that there's another funder interested and that you have sales, and that's where stacking really answers that question for prospective funders, to see that you're not just relying upon one or the other, you're mixing it all up and building a stronger foundation, having a diversified portfolio of funding. Again, feel free to meet with us to brainstorm about what that would mean for your business, no matter what the stage is. Another great benefit for Kiva, which people do kind of think about, but they may be floored, not overwhelmed by how successful it is, it really does open up your base of customers. People want to buy your specific product, but also your community. These may be people who are looking to maybe to buy your product right away, but they want to support you in some way. They might want to partner with you, a business-to-business partnership. They might want to refer you to other people who are willing to buy your product or service, but it really does open up and start to build your brand as a business in the district and in your particular industry. This is a floral shop that just opened up in Petworth, who closed at the end of last year. And this is our first Kiva borrower. This is Christina from Griffin LLC, a CBE business. She was our first DC Kiva Hub borrower last year, and she had a great example. She had a deluge of support, not only people supporting her campaign, which closed so fast, I didn't have time to say your campaign is open. It was closed almost the next day. It was that fast. But she was able to not only get supporters for her campaign, but people wanted to contribute their time, their guidance. They loved the idea of her product, her service rather, that she was offering, and wanted to see how they could be of support. She found a B2B partner through the Kiva campaign, someone who wanted to team up with her and together go after contracts. So it was more than just the funding she got for the $9,500 for her loan. She got the potential to grow more through contracts, through partnerships, and people were willing to give pro bono services to help her. So much so that she created a quick page on her text on her homepage to get people to help if they wanted to help her financially or otherwise beyond Kiva when it closed. She was able to capture that interest on her homepage. So another benefit of Kiva beyond your initial money is the connection to community and potential partners down the road. Again, feel free to drop any questions you have in the chat. And we're now going to jump into what the pitch looks like. You saw a little glimpse earlier when I showed the Kitchen Jerks page, but I want to walk you through what your page will look like, and specifically what you have to contribute, what you have to upload for your application. And spoiler alert, it's not much actually. It's a very simple application. And then also to let you know specifically what they'll be asking for and how they'll use that information both in your application and on your public facing page. So again, this is a quick snapshot of what the landing page may look like for a community lender who's looking to support you. Again, it's almost like a dating match.com, a dating page. It's like a sea of pictures and a sea of taglines. And this is why when I'm working with you as an applicant, if I keep harping on your photo, it's because the photo is the #1 reason people click. And there are very specific things Kiva looks for in their photo. Don't be afraid. I will help you with all of that. Guidance on how to create it on your own. And if you need help taking the picture, we can figure something out. But I want you to have a really strong photo because that's usually the make or break for people to click through and support your campaign. The next thing is the tagline. We'll work a little bit on that. It's a very short, limited real estate, just a sentence or two, or one sentence, 1 or 2 lines, but it makes all the difference to get people to click through, particularly at the end of your campaign. If you're getting close to the closing date and you're not quite at 100% of the money that you need, having a strong picture and a tagline will separate you from the other people that you're competing with. I also showed here on this page, this on the left-hand side, you'll see sort order, location, sectors. These are filters that lenders will use to find people to support, you might want to familiarize yourself with what those are, because you want to create an application that takes advantage of that. If you're a returning citizen, if you're a woman, if you're working in education, look at what those filters are and make sure that if it actually does apply to you, you might want to opt to include that in your application. That way, as people are searching for applications like yours, they'll actually find you. I might make some recommendations on tags and attributes to add as you're setting up your application, but get familiar with how people are looking to support businesses like yours, so you're sure to write an application that will meet them where they're looking. Again, here's the example from Kitchen Jerk. It has information about you individually, your personal story, your business description, and your loan, how you're going to use the loan funds. These do not need to be long at all. As a matter of fact, the shorter the better. I might even encourage you to shorten yours if you go fairly long, because people, like anything on the internet, their time that they look at things is very short. So you want to keep it short and snappy, but let them know about who you are, not just I'm a person in DC who has a business. How did you come to start your business? What got you to the point where you're thinking, hey, I want to do baking. Hey, I want to do transportation. Hey, I want to do accounting. What was that one thing that pushed you over the edge to explore that as an opportunity? The business part's about what your business is, the name, if you have already named it, how long you've been operational, if that's applicable, and what you've done so far. And then the loan part is what you will do with the money if you were to get it. So the business description is what you've done so far, and the loan is saying what you will do next if you did have support from the crowd. Here's a list of the different questions they'll ask you and information they'll collect, grouped by questions about you, about your business, and about your loan ask. Everything in bold is information that appears on the public-facing page. So if you're concerned about what information you put in the application will be put on the campaign page at kiva.org, everything in bold will be visible there. It's not too much, but just so that you know the distinction between what's kept in the background and what is visible publicly. They also have asked you to upload some documents, but really not a lot. If you're asking for a loan for $6,000 or less, it's really just two documents, your photo and your business proof. Now, this is something to show that you are a business in the district. If you're just starting out and you're at the concept stage, you probably wouldn't have anything. They'll just check to see if you're actually at the location, the residence in the district that you mentioned. But if you are an established business, you need to provide your business license, your DCRAs, articles of incorporation, something that shows your business name and the business address as it appears in a Kiva application. It needs to be a government generated document. Also, if you are applying for a loan that's greater than $6,000, you will be asked for two more documents. Your bank statement, this would be a business bank statement, something that has the name of your business and the name of your business address so that matches in your application. And then also proof of revenue. It's suggested, it's not required, but if you're going for a loan greater than $6,000, you will need to show that you have some type of revenue coming in. It could be your business tax filing from the previous year. It could be a signed contract. It could be a list of your Venmo receipts that you have from transactions related to your business, something to show that you have some traction as far as revenue. If you don't have that documentation, that is fine. Kiva will still consider your application. They just will probably consider you for a lower amount, lower than $6,000. So you don't have to prove revenue, but if you want the higher amount, you should show that. It also asks about your loan, what you want to use the loan money for. Again, it's just a recap of the information we mentioned earlier, the itemized expenses. And the backup plan, if not funded, is just a quick statement. Like if you don't get the money, how will you go after supporting those expenses? And if you're not sure how to answer that, again, we can chat about that during your application phase. And like based on what you tell me, I can give you some guidance what to write in there. Now here's the secret sauce. If you're wondering what makes a great Kiva application, I will tell you, in addition to coming to an information session or reading about this, the basics online, having a clickable photo, a really enticing tagline. People want to go, oh, who is this business? What are they trying to fund? I want to be a part of this. A compelling story. And again, you don't have to be the best writer at all, but just answer the same thing you probably look for if you're trying to give out some money to someone online. What is it that you would be willing to support? What do you want to hear? Do you want to hear that someone has made some efforts in the past to raise money? Do you want to hear about the struggle they had to get to where they are? What would be compelling to make you donate towards a campaign? And similarly, you want to have your story be compelling to get people to lend to your campaign. Again, your ask is tied to growth. So if you're just saying, oh, I just want to have a website, I want to have a website that has an e-commerce site where people can buy directly on my website, that's more specific, that's more tied to growth. So again, if you're struggling figuring out what is a good list of items to ask for, we can talk about that and figure out what might be attractive to a borrower supporting you. If you're our DC business and are licensed, that will help you a lot. It will help with your review approval process. It will also help you get an endorsement from a trustee that will help get you perhaps a higher amount of money and a faster review. So getting licensed and incorporated in the district, if you are already, again, you can use your Kiva funds to get licensed and incorporated in the district, which is only $200 if you're going for the basic business license plus incorporation. And again, if you have a ask greater than $6,000, if your application comes in already with the bank statement, with your business name and business address, and your revenue documents, you will have a super fast review. I literally reviewed things the same day I receive it. If everything is in order, like here, I will review it the same day. My goal is to get it out the same day I see it if everything is complete. So it goes much faster when you have an application all together like this. All right. Oops. So again, feel free to drop any questions in the chat. Here are the steps to get started. It's fairly simple. You just need to start. An application is the easiest way, both for you to see what's in the application. And once you start an application, I'll be able to see it at my end. I won't review it till you actually submit it, but I'll be able to look along and see if you're missing information or if I have any suggestions, or if you do sign up to meet with me by phone or in person, I'll be able to see what you're submitted so far and we can work together on that. There's lots of great guidance online at kiva.org that has information to help you figure out how to do your application. So I encourage you to check out their guidance. And we have information sessions like this and webinars about specific parts of the application. I have a webinar on demand on our YouTube channel for just the photo, one for creating your ask, one for writing your story. So if you're looking for guidance on specific parts of your application, check out our YouTube channel, look for the playlist called Money Mondays or Kiva. And then finally, always look at the other campaigns. This is a link to all the DC Kiva Hub campaigns that have been out there, or just search kiva.org in general, both from the perspective of a lender who's looking to support a business and also from a business seeing who your competition might be. Both perspectives will help you figure out what might be effective ways to write and visually portray your business in your Kiva pitch. For help, you're welcome to meet with me. The best way to reach me is by email, and we'll set up some times. Myself and my team at Inno.ED plus some partners, we have TA hours, technical assistance hours, both in person at the MLK Library and virtually. And this link will help you get to the page where you can sign up for those. Or you can just drop me an email and say, hey, do you have time this week on this day or this day? And I'll find some time to meet with you. Again, it's best if you've gone through the basic information first, started your application, and then we could start addressing specific questions that you have. Another way to get help is through our DC Kiva Kiva trustees. These are organizations that have a Kiva endorsement that they can give to your business. It could be DSLBD if you're a CBE, Certified Business Enterprise, made in DC, or an Aspire graduate. We have an endorsement for you. We also have endorsements through trustees that work locally, like the DC Women's Business Center, Rhode Island Avenue, Main Street, Mess Hall, SCORE. There are a lot of organizations. You can find a list of them online at kiva.org/trustees, or drop me an email. Again, the trustees endorsement will help you have a faster review. You'll get more technical support from those trustees, and Kiva might consider you for a higher amount because they know that if you've been endorsed by a trustee, it means that that entity knows your business, knows that you've taken steps to strengthen your business capacity, which means you might be a more ideal candidate to get a loan, perhaps even a higher loan through Kiva. So we covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time, but I hope I was able to give you a general idea how Kiva might answer some of your financing challenges, and specifically how the crowdfunding process will work for you and Kiva specifically, and what will make a successful campaign, and that we, DSLBD, the DC Kiva Hub, are here to help you along the way from the idea of exploring Kiva to actually going through the process and getting your loan. Let's jump into any questions that have come through in the chat, and then we'll open it up for people to unmute. Oh, I see. Hi, Ronald, again, you're applying for a DC grant through Aussie. Okay, so Ron gave an example in the chat that he's applying for a grant elsewhere, and that you might want to think about the timing of when that grant comes in and how it might fit with your Kiva loan application. So that's a great question that we could have offline to talk through if you're concerned about the timing of those two and how they could support each other, stacking that grant, possible grant with a possible Kiva loan. I'd be happy to set up some time to talk with you about that. Does Kiva have grant funds? Kiva is not a grant product. No, it is not. So Kiva, again, is only for a loan, which means that once you raise that money through the crowdfunding process and you're awarded that loan, you do need to repay it back in full. It does not have any interest rate, so that part is free. Whereas a grant is something when you receive it and you use it for the allowed use that you signed up for, then you do not need to repay that one. But Kiva is not a grant. Any other questions in the chat, or if you'd like, you can unmute. For those who are on the phone, thanks for joining. I believe it's *6 to unmute. If not, try *9. I'm happy to take any questions off mute or in the chat.
Hi, this is Trina Robinson. One other
Hello.
question.
Yes.
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Well, thanks for asking. Can you, once you do apply and if you're approved, can you use this funding to help you pay down another small business loan that you already have?
Yeah, so that would be considered debt. So no, you can't use this loan to pay another loan or any other type of debt, including taxes.
Okay.
But you could use it, and we could talk through that, like what other business expenses you have that might be tied to helping get revenue in the near term, and that you can use your Kiva for that, and then the revenue you get back from that could pay both for Kiva and that other loan as well.
And so if I wanted to use this for, I know rent, to acquire office space.
Yes, it could be used for rent on existing lease or to acquire a new space. Although we could talk about like a budget, like how much the budget is to get into that new space, because I'm not sure if Kiva will be enough to cover that. Let's start your application and then give me a call or drop me an email, and we could set up some time to talk through that specific scenario.
Okay. Thank you. Will
You're
do.
welcome, Trina. Any other questions by chat or by come off mute? If not, I thank you for joining us. Again, this DC Kiva crowdfunding loan information session will be available in our YouTube channel, and I'll also email you the link along with these slides. I will activate the slides to the links. You can just click through on the slide document and get to all the links that I shared. I thank you for joining us today and for your interest in Kiva. I hope you'll check us out and consider applying in the near future. Have a great afternoon. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. You too. Have a nice one.